So can you write the equation for that, and then can you put it into the calculator? So I'm going to tell you the story one more time. Grandma decides before she passes away that she wants to give you a nice gift. That instead of waiting for an inheritance someday, she says, here's $1,000, and I want you to invest it and hold on to it until you're my age. Okay, and you figure out that that's 75 years. The 1,000 gets invested at 9% for 75 years. So, did you know you should start with u sub 0? You should have known that. Because this is a real world problem, and they work out better that way. They just do. Because in a real world problem, usually you're asking for like, how much did the money grow to? And your $1,000 that you had at time 0 hasn't grown at all. And at, 1 year later, it's grown some, right? U1 would be after 1 year. So do you get why it would make sense to start with U0? All right, now we're going to write the rest of the equation. Of course, it's UN minus 1. And if you're putting it in a calculator, this ought to be in parentheses. And then you times it by 1 plus the rate we got, which is 0.09. Raise your hand if you had all that right. Okay, good. Then here's the next question. Did you know how to go into the table and then find how much money you'd have 75 years from now? If you haven't already, put this all in the calculator, go in the table, look up at 75. Now, if people's tables are messed up, it's usually because your table settings aren't right. If you're extra strategic, you're going to go, well, I actually don't want it to start at 0 because then I'd have to arrow down 75 times. Maybe you just have your table start at 75. See what I mean? So you get to do table settings. It's like the second or third button over. It's right above that window button. And you can have this table start wherever you want. I'd have it start at 75 because it gets me right to the answer. All right, would you please compare your calculator screen where you see the answer? It should be on your calculator with the kid next to you, and let them help you if you can't figure it out. Maybe you can say, I need an extra second, but when you're done, compare it with the kid next to you. So if you got like $600,000, you're realizing that, wow, that $1,000 grew a lot, right? The especially big thing that made the difference was how much time you waited. Because see, if you had invested grandma's $1,000 and then you just went after 20 years and looked at how much there was, it's going to be way less than that if you only wait 20 years. It was the magic of waiting 75 years. All right. In fact, I'd like you to go look. Go look and see how much that would be after 20 years. All right, how much is it? Only $5,000? Isn't that amazing? After 20 years, it's only $5,000. Like, that's not that much. It's like a cheap used dirt bike. Okay? So my point is, do you get at that moment, if you had spent it, if you were like, yeah, she told me to wait until she was my age, but I really want the dirt bike. And you spend it all, then you have $0 when you're her age? That account is worth 0 because you spent it all. It'd be very tempting too, especially when it gets up to a little bit bigger number, like maybe 100,000. You can be like, oh, I could buy that really nice like ski boat, but then you'll never have the 600,000. Now there's some validity to saying, well, what do I need 600,000 for when I'm really old? But then maybe you can be the old grandma who is able to give a gift to your grandkids someday. And maybe you wait till there's 500,000 and then you say, I'm old enough, I'm not waiting any longer. But now you've still got 500,000 instead of wasting it when it was only 5,000. All right, so that's just a thought, and it helps you to see how we're going to use these. All right, next thing I got to teach you is there's in the real world, a lot of times we make payments into our investments. We don't just put the money in there once. We put the money in there and then we like slowly add to it. Do you get what I mean? Over time, you like every month you put in some money. So here's how you make the equation. Go into your calculator and change this part. Get rid of the parenthesis at the end. And we're going to change this problem to a monthly problem because, you know, most of the things in the real world you pay for monthly. You pay your credit card bill monthly. You pay your rent or your house payment monthly. So we're going to put divided by 12 right there. We're going to put a /12. Now I just changed the problem to monthly. And I'm going to add some money every month. I'm going to say, Grandma gave me this 1,000, but I'm going to add to it. I'm going to add $100 a month. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, there's no way I could afford to add $100 a month. My daughter, watched other people's pets, and she made $2,000 over the summer just watching people's pets for them. They would go on vacation. She would go, put out water, put out food, pet the cats, go home, and she'd get $100 while people were gone on vacation. So, yeah, you could absolutely make an extra $100. Maybe it's babysitting, maybe it's watching people's pets, maybe you start a small business where you snow blow people's driveways, whatever it is, you could make $100 a month. You could do that. So now let's see, except there's one big difference. Now the problem is in months. So when you go to U sub 12, you're looking at how much money you have after 12 months. That's a big difference. U sub 12 isn't 12 years later now. U sub 12 is 12 months later. All right? So if you want to know how much money you'd have after 75 years, you aren't going to go to U sub 12. It's 12 months for each year times the 75 years we want to wait. What is 75 times 12? 900. Thank you. It is 900. You're right. So U sub 900 is how much you'd have if you took Grandma's money, but also added 100 a month and kept saving it. It's going to be a lot more. Please go look at U sub 900, and you can do that two ways. You can type U parentheses 900 and it'll work, or I would change the table settings to start at 900 and look at it on the table. It's going to be a lot more. Sage, did you get it? Oh, okay. It is, sometimes it takes a while to actually crank this out. Anybody got it? Raise your hand if you got it. Brandon, you got it? Yeah. Can you read it to me? Just read me the digits, 2, 6, 5, 3.
1, 1, 9, 2, 3, 7, 0, 3, 1, 4,
Can you double check that? 119237003.
Yeah.
All right. Now I want you to put the commas in the right spot. Do you realize that's 11 million? Now it seems like a typo, but no, you were adding $100 a month, which is like 1,000 a year, more than 1,000 a year, over all that time. 1,000 a year for 75 years. It should be a lot more than it was. So could you be a millionaire someday? If you wait long enough, sure. But guess what you have if you just get really old and you never save? Zero. If you actually save 100 every month and you invest it and you let it grow, absolutely, you wait long enough. The magic here again is in how long you waited. I want you to go back and look at year 2, not U sub 2. U sub 2 is month 2. Year 2. You've been saving for a couple of years now. Do you get that's really U sub 24? Okay, good, because this is monthly now. Everybody, pull that up on your calculator. U sub 24. Leo, what'd you get?
I don't know.
Okay, go pull it up on your calculator. I'll come back to you in a second. I'll ask you for maybe a different one. This isn't just sit there time. Rohan, what did you get? U sub 24.
I don't think I have the right equation because my calculator keeps spinning right by spinning.
Okay, then hit, yeah, I bet you it's your table settings. So you hit the on button to break it from spinning. Okay, then go look at your table settings. And I would just go right to the 20, have it start at the 24th spot. And if it still spins forever, something's wrong with your equation. Rohan, what did you get when you broke it and went?
Something's wrong with my equation because it only gives me 109.
All right, would you read me exactly what's in your parentheses?
1.09 divided by...
Oh, no. 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12. That's different. You can't say 1.09. Okay, see, I'm pointing that out because do you remember me saying it was really important to write it as 1 plus? This is that moment why that really matters.
That would be true.
Okay, good. I'm happy to know what was going on. All right, you got to have the plus in there because only this part gets divided by 12. See, if you do it the other way, the 1 gets divided by 12 too, and it messes it all up. All right, somebody that's just got it already, save me. What's U sub 24? 3,815. Do you get, if you stop right there and you go, ooh, I've got enough to go on a vacation to Hawaii, and you spend it all, you never get to the 11 million. See what I'm saying? So, big part of investing is leaving it alone. You'll be tempted. You got to have other money that you can spend, but don't touch that money. You know? You can spend your other stuff. Once you get the investment account going, don't touch it. Otherwise, you'll never get here. Okay. So, now what if it's a loan? I personally think loans are a bad idea, except when you're buying a house. If you're buying a house, it's almost impossible to save up all the money to buy a house. It's freaking impossible. Now, cars, you can just get a really cheap car and then save up until you can get a nicer car. You can do it. Most people don't want to. They'd rather just get a loan for a car too. That's fine. That's a judgment call. But for a house, no brainer. You have to get a loan. So let me show you how the equation changes if this is a loan of $1,000. Now, I know you wouldn't need $1,000 for a house, but some people get loans for everything. They just ooh, I want to buy this, I'll go get a loan. So we're going to make it a $1,000 loan just so we can leave that alone. Haha, never thought of that before. And it's going to be at 9% interest and everything, but this time, because it's a loan, change your plus to a minus. All you got to do is go over it on your calculator and type minus right where there is a plus. And now with a loan payment, you want your loan to get paid off. So when you do a loan payment, this payment right here, all right, I'm pausing for a second. Okay, I just thought it through and I remembered this is plus. It's always plus. Because somebody's making interest. It's just not you. The bank is making interest on you. You're paying them interest. Okay, so that's a plus. This number is the minus if you're paying back a loan. So everybody do it that way with a plus on the inside and a minus on the outside, and then go to the table, and I think you will see that it goes 1,000 and then 907.5. Can you verify that? Okay, good. And the next one is 814.31. Okay, so let's talk this through. You've paid back $100. How come you still owe them $907? Like, if you paid $100, shouldn't you only owe them $900? Because there's also the interest, exactly. Yes?
So if you're the person investing it, it'll just increase, and then like if you add more or something, then
Yes, if you were doing an investment, then this would have been a plus. And that's the thing I remember now is that the only difference, the only way you can tell by looking at this formula, whether it's a loan or an investment, is if it's an investment, you'll be adding to it every month. If it's a loan, you'll be paying it off every month.
so the money in the bank, no matter what, is increasing
Because of interest. It's just that if you are the one who has all the money and you just put it in, you're earning the interest. And the bank, when you borrow money, the bank is earning the interest. So this is always positive because somebody's making interest. All right. So again, this is important. If you pay $100, you would think you'd only owe them $900, but you owe them $907 because of interest. Okay. So I think we've covered most of the things that I wanted to before we got into the notes. So now hold on just a second. I'm going to have you go look at today's folder. Okay, so your Schoology quiz is going to ask you, what is the principal? All right. Principal is the starting amount. This number here is always the principal. Whether it's a loan or an investment, that number there, that's the principal. They're going to ask you what the annual rate is. That right there is where your rate is. You remember that from before, right? I said the rate would always be that thing after the plus. This is the frequency. Remember I did it monthly? Because I said most things in the real world are monthly. 12 times a year, monthly. That's the frequency. F-R-E-Q. The frequency is 12 times a year. Now, there's some bills that you actually pay quarterly. Yes. Guess what number you'd put there if it was quarterly? 4. Not everything's monthly. Sometimes we'll put a 4 there for quarterly. Like, for instance, if you run a small business and you want to pay your taxes, they take quarterly tax payments. Also, big businesses like Apple and Tesla and other big corporations, they report their earnings quarterly, which means 4 times a year. So this right here, this number is usually a 12, but if it's not, it's the frequency that you're doing your problem in. Maybe if it says, she invested her money quarterly, then you'll put a 4 in there. Okay. Now I think I've covered it all. So let's start your Schoology quiz. Everybody open up the Schoology quiz? First problem, could you read me, even if you did, go back to the first one. Find me number 1. I know it's dense, but can you read it to me, please?
Consider the sequence represented by the recursive here below. U0, 450.
450, keep going.
UN equals 1 plus 0.039.
Wait a minute, 0.039?
Yeah.
I can have a 0 in front of that, but I don't like those, but okay, good, keep going.
UN minus 1 plus 50, where n is equal to...
Wait, plus 50. Okay, good.
Where n is greater than or equal to 1.
All right.
And measured in years.
You guys know that the domain is like that. It's a thing that says this only works for the not the first one that you do. It only works for the next one. We don't really use the domain, so you can just kind of ignore that. What did I say this number was? Principal, good. What did I say this one was? The rate. What if it's not divided anything, but then it's divided by 1? Do you get what I mean? It's kind of like this 0.039 is happening only once a year. That means annual. You know what I mean? 1 time a year. So if it doesn't have anything it's divided by, then that means it happened once a year. All right, would you read me the questions they want to answer about it now?
Is this a loan or investment?
All right, stop. I can tell that from this right here. That's the only way you can tell if it's a loan or an investment. If you're adding to it every month, that's an investment. Do they want like an I or a L? Or? Okay. All right, so we'll just use an I. Is it a capital or a lower?
Capital.
All right, capital I. Okay, what's the next question?
What is the principal?
Oh, that's 450. That's easy. What's the next question?
What is the deposit or payment amount?
That is that, 50. And does it ask you to tell if it's a deposit or a payment? Doesn't ask?
It just says either.
Okay. Just so you know,
Yeah.
when it's putting money in, that's called a deposit. So whenever it's positive, you're putting the money into it. If this had been a minus, you'd be paying off a loan and then it'd be a payment. But this is a deposit. Keep going.
What is the annual interest rate?
Ooh, I know that one. No, it said rate. That's a sign we should give a percent answer. It's very tempting to type .039. Don't. It'll mark it wrong. What percent is that? 3.9%. Now, unless it gives you guidance on that, that's what you should do. I will go double check the answer key in like 2 seconds to make sure if they would have accepted .039. Okay, what's the next question?
What is the frequency, the number of times per year, which with the interest is compounded?
All right, remember how I said it's not divided by 12, so it must be divided by 1? Then that's the frequency. The frequency is 1 time a year. Yes, Leo.
Do I have to include the percent when I write 3.9?
Excellent question. I need to go look at the key to see what Schoology wants. I know if we were handwriting this test, I would want 3.9 with a percent sign. All right. Is that the answer? Is that the end of that one? Yeah, sweet. Okay, I think you get the idea. Now, at the end of this whole thing, there's going to be an actual project. Instead of a test on this unit, we do a project. And you're going to be able to pick, like, okay, I'm thinking about buying a boat. I could save up for the boat and then wait a few years and just buy the boat. Or I could take a loan for the boat, make loan payments on the boat, and get the boat earlier, but have to pay interest. And we'll make you think that through and see how much more the boat will cost. Because, of course, the boat costs more if you're going to get it now and pay interest. So that's going to be basically your project coming down the pipe. All right. And that's all I got for you for today.